What is going on, good people of the internet? It is time once again for us to sit down as African American nerds, black nerds, blurs, whatever you want to call us, as we sit down together and talk about whatever we want to talk about, whether it be comic books, video games, anime, D&D, as we are doing tonight, RPGs of any kind, because I really want to play the new Star Wars one, all kinds of things. Star Wars, which we'll be talking about in season 2. All things here and there, we talk about it here on Blurred Ground. This is our season 2, season 1. I can't talk. This is our season 1. I guess like almost season finale. This is like our semi.
Penultimate.
Yeah, penultimate. This is this is the penultimate episode before we head into our season finale, which kicks off next week with the Blurred Crusade, our Dungeons and Dragons campaign that the amazing Jasmine has been busting her ass on to run for us. So we are going to get into this penultimate episode right now. But before we get into it, let me introduce my cast this evening. My name is James Portis. We have to my above me. We have, I was saying to my left because the panel. Above me, we have the doctor, the hard worker himself. I almost made a joke, but I'm not going to do it. Aaron, how you doing this evening?
Definitely appreciate it. Doing good. Waiting for the week to round up, and this is always a good preview to the end of the week. So, looking forward to the fun.
All right. And below myself, we have the man who lives on airplanes more than Samuel L. Jackson and his snakes. We have the man who decided not to join me in the beverages this evening, but is still getting his soda on. We have Marcus. How you doing this evening?
What up? I might still drink, but just probably later.
And I'm having my second, then I'm done. I want to have a little bit of a good time this evening.
Nah, I feel it. It's my Friday, so I might join.
So yeah, it's been a rough week. So we gonna wind down and have a good time. And below him, we have, like we already said, our amazing dungeon master, the woman who never sleeps, works her 47 jobs like Uncle Ruckus. We have Jasmine. How you doing this evening?
I actually sleep a lot. I sleep probably too much.
You ruined my joke.
I'm sorry.
Sleep is important.
Sleep is important. It
It
definitely
is important. Thank you. I snatch it anytime I can.
There you go. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm excited about this episode.
There you go. Don't forget that you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere that you can listen to a podcast besides SoundCloud. You can listen to this podcast. So please make sure that you subscribe. Please, if you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure that you leave us a review. It helps people find this podcast a little bit easier. So make sure you check that out. All right. And don't forget, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Blurred Grounds. And you can follow the website On Comics Ground on Twitter and Instagram at On Comics Ground. And you can check out our website, oncomicsground.com. Put some hyphens between those words where you can, you can check out all of our newest reviews, previews, solicitations, and news articles each weekday. So make sure you check us out for that. All right. So before we get into the main topic, we have a little bit of TV roundup news to get into this evening. So we are a week out from the season 2 finale of DC Universe's Titans. We mentioned a little bit of it on panel to panel. Didn't get too in depth because of spoilers still being raw from it being released the day before. But we are here. We are a week out, and we're going to talk about it because this finale, matter of fact, the whole damn season, matter of fact, the whole damn show has been very controversial for some people because some people think it's too damn political. There is the issue of just the story overall. There's been some of the acting choices. There has been some of the character growth choices in the writer's room. And there's just the choices made in this finale that really had me frustrated. So, season 2, fellas. This season it started off really good. Like, I didn't expect it to like start off as well as it did because it wrapped up the Trigon thing really quickly and then moved him to San Francisco and then got everything kicked off with Titan's Tower and everything. And it was going hot. Like, Slade's introduction was amazing. Like, Dick training everybody was turning out really good. Bringing in Rose actually was kind of cool. But then as the episodes went on after the whole Aqualad episode, it kept getting progressively weirder and stupider, with them saying that Dickhead killed Jericho, everything going every which way. This show went ass backwards, and it all led up to this finale that, in hindsight, like as I looking back at the finale, it wasn't a horrible finale. Like Beast Boy's progression was kind of stupid, and Donna Troy's death was really stupid, but like otherwise it wasn't horrible. But like, ugh. And I mean, like, bias aside, I am the number one Teen Titans fan, but like it wasn't horrible, but also like, ugh. That's where I'm at with this. Marcus, I know you have a lot of feelings about this, so why don't you holler at us for a hot second?
I'll start by saying I'd rather watch Teen Titans Go than Titans going forward.
Damn!
I
I mean, Teen Titans Go was not a bad show.
I was
going
going
to
to say Teen Titans Go isn't that bad, but yes.
Yeah, but I know
see your
the
point.
people I'm specifically talking to have probably pissed them off, and I meant to piss them off. So,
I mean, but like, damn, like, why do you feel like that though?
this was arguably the worst season finale of any television show I have seen in my entire life.
Okay, now
And
why do you
this
say
shit-
that?
And well, you got to kind of dig deeper before we get to it, because
Okay,
honestly, this show has some of the worst pacing issues I've seen in a television show. You won't
Fair.
see characters the only show I've seen that is this bad is The Walking Dead, and The Walking Dead has kind of fixed that problem with its
Okay.
later seasons. But this show, it's awful. It's god awful. They juggle way too many characters. Characters will disappear for weeks at a time. You don't know what's going on with them. They try and juggle way too many storylines. I should have known from how quick they moved off of Trigon, like, that it would be a problem. We thought it was refreshing at first. So, okay, they're going to focus on something different. Cool. But that was just kind of like a preview of how the season was going to go. They're going to jump from story to story. They're going to leave stuff without any explanation, like that gargoyle that killed that guy. What happened with that? That creepy small town lady that threatened Hank and Dove. What happened with that? Like,
Right.
you really think they're teasing Blackfire? Do you really think she can carry a season by herself as a main villain?
I'm
not.
Here's the
I mean,
thing.
number one, I don't care because I'm not gonna watch. I'm done with this show, so it doesn't really matter. But
If you look at Blackfire from the stake of the comics and what Corey has done over the years, there is the potential, but there's a lot of room to fuck it up. I'm gonna say that.
and let's be real, the
We're
chances
talking about
that they're gonna
comic
fuck it
Corey.
up.
We're talking about comic Corey versus Titans Corey, and we're talking
Which is
about
already a fucking mess.
there's so much to say about the things that are wrong about the scope and the like. This is a princess from an alien world, and it just seems like so regular. Like it's so like annoyingly regular. Like,
And the
oh,
thing
you're an
is-
alien? Okay, cool. Like whatever.
She really
no,
suffered
she's
this
a,
season.
what?
And the thing is, it
She
goes
really suffered this season. She really
it
did.
goes back, and the thing is, it started off with her actually being better than season one, because season one, it was just like she was stupid, had no memory, didn't know what the fuck she was doing. Like, and the thing is, it goes back to her not being orange, but also the fact that Anna Diop is playing this character so serious and so like badass that it's like, but not like a good badass, like stereotype badass, where it's like she's trying to be like that powerful character, but like she doesn't have the depth to back it up. It feels like.
Well, I don't blame her. I still think she's a good casting. I still don't give a fuck about the orange thing. It doesn't matter. She's an alien. Who cares?
Yeah, that still bugs me. But that's
By the way, my powers are gone.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
your
that
powers are
shit
gone.
too.
Oh, right.
Oh, well.
Don't.
Okay.
Why?
Oh, we
This
This is about that?
This-
Okay. Anyway.
That's called the
She
budget
got the
got
wor-
slashed. That's what that was. That's called we needed to save. That's called we need to save some money for Beast Boy's tiger skin, because that's only animal let him turn into is a fucking tiger.
right. I'm like, he's Tiger Boy. He's not Beast Boy. He's gonna turn into a damn tiger.
He's Tiger Boy, and then he was a snake for like 2 seconds in the season premiere. That was it.
Right, but it's just I believe her and Beast Boy really got the shortest ends of the stick this season because we're just gonna turn Beast Boy into a mass murderer,
Yeah,
and
pretty
then
much.
at the end of the episode,
Yeah.
he's okay.
That
Like
poor
he
little
just needs
boy.
he just needs a hug from Raven, and then he's fine. Like he
Yeah.
killed
Oh,
like a bunch of people.
you mean Rachel?
They refuse to call
Rachel?
her Raven, and it's. I mean, granted,
They
her real
really
name in the show
haven't.
is Rachel in certain time periods, but they refuse to call her Raven, and it's so annoying.
Right. It was a mess. It was such a mess. Like
And the,
I can't believe people actually agreeing with this and thought it was a good idea.
see,
You know
There's
what?
there's no oversight for this show, and it shows.
You know what pisses me off?
Because Johns isn't there anymore.
You know what pisses me off about the show?
What's up?
One thing out of the many things that pisses me off about the show is that like they have this like let's make Dick Grayson the problem. Let's like blame him for everything. And I know like there are stories where it's good to have like this this internal tension and to have like there's someone that we trust and they made a bad choice and it's affecting everybody and everybody's mad about it, but like they try to make it seem like he's just the worst person ever. And how can you do that for a whole freaking 2 seasons? Like
You can't.
it just doesn't make any sense for you to be that mad for this long. And like, oh, so he just has to die? Like, so we just leave him to Slade to get killed? Because
See,
like
this show...
I just don't understand why, like, and I don't know why Batman is there. Like,
Batman,
and I
he's
think
not even Batman. He's just old Bruce. Like he doesn't. You don't see this motherfucker in a costume. You don't see this motherfucker do anything. He's just old Bruce.
Old Bruce trying to hide his British accent.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. But no. Okay. So like, here's the thing. This show.
George needs to go. Like I just go ahead, Jorah
Who?
Mormont. Go ahead.
Who you said
He's
Jorah?
He's Jorah Mormont from Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay,
That's the only way I can think of him because he just looks and acts just like freaking Jorah.
Well,
But
like,
anyway.
here's the thing. With this show, there's a lot of bright spots. And the thing is, Marcus, you bring up a good point that this thing has a lot of pacing problems, which, to be fair, it mimics very well from the comics, where with so many connected characters in a team book, it has really bad pacing at times, but like the way the books are written, it ends up working. But Titans doesn't execute it the way it should, which makes it a problem half the time. But at the end of the day, if John sat me down in a room, or the Titans producer sat me down in a room, this is how things would have went from get-go. A, we are going to wind back the clock. If you don't want Corey to be orange, okay, then she's not going to be this hard-ass, hoeing chick who's running around trying to hunt down Rachel to get but then she gets amnesia and can't figure out what the frick's wrong with her and shit. She's going to be Corey. She's going to show up on day one. She's getting hunted down by aliens. She's going to fight them. She's going to join the Titans, and they're going to go off. They're going to go off trying to figure out what's going on. If you want to make Dick a cop or make him retired, cool, whatever. We can deal with that. Fine. But Beast Boy needs a bigger budget. Rachel needs to calm the fuck down because yes, she needs to be the force that brings everybody together. But you making her the central focus to the point that Trigon shows up in season 1 as your big bad? No, sir. No, sir. You wasted your whole budget on this dude and he will never come back. That was the wrong mistake to make. You should have had like the Sons of Trigon, or have Slade be your first villain, or have Dr. Light and the Fearsome Five be your first villains, or something. But also, Dr. Light got cheated too, but I'm not going to worry about that one.
Dr. Light was like a dude, bro. I'm like, is that even really Dr. Bright?
It wasn't. It was so bad.
He was like a dude, bro.
And,
I didn't even believe he had his doctor. Like, this guy can't be smart.
Yeah.
I think it was just a name. Like, It was so annoying. But, like, there's, and like, hell, I'd leave Hawk and Dove in. I'd bring Donna in, and I'd bring a new Wally in. They've already hinted at Roy being in canon because he talks to Donna all the fucking time. Bring Roy in and keep the show contained. Don't put Cyborg on the motherfucking Doom Patrol. Ship Beast Boy over there because Beast Boy makes more sense with the Doom Patrol. Bring Cyborg over here and bring Beast Boy in later. Have Beast Boy be with the Doom Patrol. That way the Doom Patrol has more of a cool animalistic tone to it to go with Crazy Jane and Robot Man and shit. Have Cyborg be with us. Because you have two robots on a show that's already crazy fucking enough. It's annoying. Anyway.
Right. I would have cut
ahead.
Hawk and Dove. I would have kept Connor until next season. I would have made
Connor shouldn't even be here.
Right. I would have made Deathstroke the central antagonist. Would have left Cadmus for next season too. And just that's probably how I would have went.
Well, I'd leave Hawk and Dove because Hawk and Dove are supposed to be part of the OGs after Roy, Wally, Dick, and Donna. Like I can leave Hawk and Dove because
Who's Wally?
There's no Wally in the show. I'm saying that I would want Wally and Roy to be in the show.
I know, that's my point.
Fuck Wallace. Anyway.
Hey!
I said Wallace. I said Wallace.
Wallace. I thought you said Wally's.
Oh no, Wally's my babe. We agree on this. Wally's my babe, but like,
Wallace.
Dad's about to go off on us.
Who are you? I was about to be.
Wallace is the devil. We don't talk about Wallace. But anyway, Hawk and Dove can stay. I'm okay with it.
But let's be real. Do you really care about them? Do you?
Yes.
Do you care about any of their stories?
Yes, I do.
Are they really necessary? Like, really, if you really think about it, like, are they really necessary? And why was Dick with Dove?
Like in the comics.
No, Dick should never have been with Dove. That was fucking stupid. I agree.
Why was Dick with Dove?
Dick slept with every woman on the show except for Rachel.
Yeah, because that would have been weird.
That's gross.
That'd be weird.
He had some weird thing going on with Donna, even though they're supposed to be just like really good friends. But it was kind of weird.
But Donna and Dick always had that like, hey, we totally could fuck, but like we're not gonna fuck kind of thing going on. Like that's always been a thing in the comics. That's fine. But like in terms of that, like Hawk and Dove are like that supporting character thing that could use growth. One of the big things that was weird about them was the fact that they weren't agents of order and chaos. They were just weird.
Right, they don't even have their powers.
So it was like, and also, thankfully enough, I will give them this nod. In season 1, they left a back door. If they kill off Hank, they can bring in Dove's sister as the other Hawk because they mentioned Holly's existence, and I was like, good job, proud of you, proud of y'all. But anyway, season 2.
It's because they're trying to throw the whole kitchen sink. Like everything, like they're just trying to do everything.
That's what I was going to
sucks.
say. It feels a bit too
it definitely is a kitchen.
You can't develop relationships with these characters, between the audience and the characters. If you have too many characters, you're not supposed to have more than like one or two antagonists at a time. It sounded like they had at least two.
No! In season 1 alone, you go from like Trigon's agents hunting them down. They have the nuclear robot family that shows up to kill everybody. Then you have more Trigon goons. Then Trigon himself. Like season 1 was weird. Season 2 comes in and goes, okay, cool. We're having Dr. Light for like 3 episodes, and we're also gonna have Deathstroke hunt these people down. And then also there's random Tamaranians trying to kill Starfire as well. And it was a little bit too much.
Yeah, that's too much. That was my issue with Frozen. There were too many antagonists. You just can't do that, or the story doesn't make sense. Well, there has to be some sort of structure, or you're just gonna have a whole ass fucking mess on your hands.
I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt in terms of like storiness because Teen Titans as a comic is always a mess. But the biggest problem is they were so afraid to go with the core original 5 that they pushed on Raven and Starfire and Beast Boy when their budgets would be huge. When the show itself could have been the OG 5 and then Hawk and Dove maybe for a couple cameos, not like as like full on characters. Maybe bring in Bumblebee and Harold. Maybe bring in like the Omen. Like you have optional things going on here, and you chose not to do it. Hell, you could have made this show start off from the jump of the Titans, had them kill Deathstroke's son Grant, and then have Deathstroke come back in like season 4 or 5. But we're not getting to season 4 or 5 at this point. Connor should not be here. Connor doesn't even like literally does not know of Dick Grayson's existence until like a couple volumes of Teen Titans before during Young Justice. He knows of Dick's existence, but like they don't even meet in comic canon until like during Jeff Johns' Teen Titans, which is later. That is stupid. You just wanted to cash in on the fact that people like Superboy because of like Young Justice, and you had that on the app too. and also Superboy and Supergirl and Superman are top popular, so you're trying to cash in. That was stupid.
They wanted to have their own version of Superman. Yeah, they wanted to have their own version of Superman. But let me not.
And they did what they always do with Superman: make him a freaking villain.
Yeah,
like they put him as another antagonist. So like that pissed me off in the last episode too. Like why did they defeat Deathstroke in the first 14 minutes?
Right, that was such a waste. Well,
I was like,
that.
Hold on.
I was like, what?
I'm gonna give them.
We're done, right?
No, but like that, I respected that because you had Dick show up in the blue, and it was awesome. And then you had Rose who showed up like, nah, fuck you, Dad. It goes there and helps Dick. That was a beautiful moment. I like that.
But it's fucking Deathstroke.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And before I get into what really, really pissed me off, let's talk about some of the positives.
Okay, cool.
Jason Todd, his character arc this season, I think that was excellent. I think they did a good job of him.
Nah, Todd annoys the god out of me.
What'd you say?
Todd annoys the god out of me. He should not be here.
But I think they're going a different route. They're trying to do the opposite of the comic. Instead of just showing that he's a dick and then he ends up dying, they're going to try and do the opposite and redeem him, and he's going to learn how to really be Robin under Dick. And I thought that was pretty cool.
And then
you don't always have to do the same thing in the comics. Right, yeah, he probably still will die. You're right.
Oh my god!
I was just waiting. Like every episode he was in, I was just like, "Is this going to be the one? Is it going to be the one? Is he going to die? I was just wondering when it was going to happen."
He's a really good actor too. He's a really good actor.
I mean, what else you got?
And I think both of Slade's kids, the actors who played them, were really good.
Yes.
For Ravager and for Jericho, they were both very good.
I have seen a few Jericho scenes because I know ASL. So I tend to peek in on like things that. Well, the actor's deaf, isn't he?
Yeah, he's deaf and he's trans. He got the opportunity to play.
And he's trans, which I heard.
And he got to play a character who is bi and is mute because his throat's cut. That is phenomenal.
And
that was pretty cool.
Out the gate
I really respected that.
I think it's one of his first roles.
Yeah,
it's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I liked him a lot. So I mean, I've seen a couple of things.
So
I agree with that statement. I liked him a lot. Yeah.
Right, and then the guy playing Deathstroke himself was awesome.
He is the best on-screen Deathstroke ever. Mm-hmm. I will fight anybody. I will fight all you Arrow stands. He is the best Deathstroke.
I didn't like Arrow's Deathstroke.
Everyone seems to love Arrow's Deathstroke, and I freaking hate it. This dude has the fury. He has the might to back it up. Yeah, he got beat a little too easily, but like he has the power, and I freaking love it. Also, Black Wintergreen was hilarious. He was getting bitches, and I thought it was hilarious.
but yeah, that just leads to like it was kind of already addressed, but just taking Deathstroke out of the picture so soon in the finale, that really kind of annoyed me. But then just the way. You don't have to kill characters just for the sake of killing characters, just to be edgy.
No, because Slade ain't dead. Slade has.
No, I'm not talking about Slade. I'm talking about Donna.
Okay.
Number one, we don't need more women. We don't need more women dying. And then number two, it was so cheap. So fucking cheap.
It was
like you're playing a video game and you actually jump off a cliff. It was such a cheap.
She's dead.
Such a cheap death.
Now here's the thing. I'm a half agree with you. The way she died was bullshit. Now her dying is not bullshit because that's pulled directly from the comics in Young Justice Titans Graduation Day. She dies fighting a Superman robot.
And
I will give her that. Now, if you want to homage her original death correctly, have her die fighting Connor at the Superman like thing from Cadmus, because in Graduation Day she dies fighting a Superman robot from Cadmus. So
I think even more important than like just honoring the exact death that she had in the comics is the fact that she's an Amazon. She needs to die a warrior's death, not being electrocuted from some random thing that falls from the sky. From the sky.
Duff could have totally ran out of the way, but it was like, "Come on, hurry, guys, hurry!" I'm like, "Duff, move your ass!"
And I mean, how about she just didn't die? Period. We don't need any more death. How about that?
Hell, no, it would have been better than Donna kill Hank and bring in Holly and be done with it.
I really
Alan
thought Hank was going to be the one to die. I really thought it was going to be Hank. First of all, how'd he get there? He came out of fucking nowhere.
Because I think the last episode ended with him like stopping the fake Hawk and then him putting the suit on and going to the fight. That was the whole thing.
Let's not talk about that episode.
Yeah, that was the whole.
This show.
I love it, but also I hate it so much. Like it's the teen drama that I wanted from a Teen Titans show, but also like it's such a mess that normal people can't understand it, and I hate it. Like
I feel like it's not even regular teen angst. Like it was trying to be too dark, too edgy, and it came off like it didn't land right. And it's not because the actors were like bad or but I just think like.
It's story and direction, basically.
Yeah, it's Batman vs Superman, the TV show.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I kid you not, there is a literal scene where Rose Wilson tries to seduce Jason Todd, but to music by The Weeknd. That's the existence we live in. Like two characters that never met in the comics together, trying to seduce one another, listening to The Weeknd. That's that's how much teen angst is in this show.
It's like I'm damaged, you're damaged. Let's do some blow and
literally it was the damage show, like literally. And then Corey's like, "Oh, we ran out of budget, so I don't have no powers." I'm like, bro. And also, Dove and Donna and Raven could have got all out of that car and helped Dickon and Rose fight Deathstroke. They're like, "Corey's injured. We can't get out the car." I'm like, "F all of y'all."
Dick was like, "Stay in the car. I got this." His costume was dope, though. I'll give him that.
His costume is the best. Like everything I could have wanted in an on-screen Nightwing, and I fucking love it. Like he had the excrement sticks, he had everything. But like, I'm gonna watch season 3 solely because I want to see how they can like have a Starfire versus Blackfire fight. I want to see Corey fly. Like that's what I'm really hoping for is they let Corey fly. But like, I don't know.
It's a no for me, dog. They should have just used this energy and brought back Swamp Thing.
Thank you, Randy Jackson.
They should have used that energy and just brought back Swamp Thing.
Oh my god. All right. So there's that mess.
Well, before we quickly transition, I wanted to ask: Did y'all get a chance to check out Harley Quinn?
Yeah, I did actually.
Yes.
I did see it. It was
very interesting.
Yeah, it's a mess, but like a mess in a good way.
Like Travis said it best. It's the best kind of cancer you can watch on a TV screen.
Right.
Like literally, like the Riddler literally rolls up and says, I shit out an orange seed and gave it to Poison Ivy. Like, oh no, I didn't just eat it and give it to Poison Ivy. I fucking ate it and shit it out. Like that's literally what this boy says. And I was so dumbfounded that I just looked at the
everybody was wilding. Like everybody was wilding.
Commissioner Gordon was wilding.
Yeah. That was my favorite part. Broken Commissioner Gordon was my favorite part. Because it makes so much sense. If I had to live in Gotham City and be the chief of police, I would be broken too.
And like the best part was he was voiced by Elliot Stabler from Law & Order SVU. So it made it even better that like he was busted up like that.
Right. Because he plays those quirky characters very well.
Because he played dude in Happy, and it was freaking hilarious.
And I just like I feel like I'm the only one who watched Happy. That show was fucking wild.
I still need to watch it.
It's funny, man. But I just like that nothing was off limits, but everything was done like quality. It's not like edgy for the sake of being edgy or off-putting for the sake of being off-putting. It's nothing's off limits, but it's all done intelligently.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Also, Alan Tudyk, like going from playing Mr. Nobody on Doom Patrol to then playing the Joker is freaking hilarious.
He's having a good year.
It worked. It definitely worked. I'm always concerned when somebody else plays the Joker, but like it worked.
I mean, I still think Kevin Michael Richardson was the best Joker ever, but like I'm in the minority on that. But like whatever.
Over Mark Hamill?
Wow.
You are in the minority.
I'm in the minority, and I'm okay with that.
Minority Report. Got it.
Anyway.
Minority Report.
I give Mark Hamill his honorary nerd crown of yes, the other nerds like you, and I still appreciate you, but like. A black man played Joker and no one cared, and I gotta give him his rep. Like that's just how that feels.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't even know the reference. Like what show was or cartoon? Or what was
the 2003 the Batman show, the Joker with the dreadlocks.
Yeah, no.
Y'all hating.
I didn't even watch that show. I saw the Joker had
It's
dreads.
so good, and like everybody hates on it, but it's so good.
I saw the Joker had dreads, and I was like, no thanks.
Nah,
But to
like
your point,
literally,
James, I did hear that the show is actually really good.
it's really good. It's on DC Universe. Like you should go watch it. It's really good. And the thing is, Joker's really weird in the first episode because he's like he has no shoes. He's jumping up on walls and shit. But then like after that, they give him the suit, and he starts acting like a little bit better, but still crazy as hell. And it's really awesome. I really think you should watch it. But that's me.
I might watch that before I watch Titan season 3.
I'm okay with that. Anyway, so let's go ahead and press on. So, Travis is not here with his corkboard this evening, but at the same time, we need to whip out the corkboard to talk about Watchmen. So, Watchmen went from saying, "Hey, did you know that Hooded Justice was actually a black man?" Then going this week, "Hey, did you know Dr. Manhattan is hiding on Earth as a black man?"
This show is the best show ever. Like
like for real,
it is the best and greatest thing ever. Like,
speak on it.
And it's not even, but it's not because of how black it is, although that is very important and that is a component of it being great. But it's like all of the ways that it calls back to the structure of the original Watchmen comic. And we talked about already in a previous episode about like the history and these efforts at trying to bring Watchmen back to life, whether it be prequels or trying to continue on the story. But I think that this is doing a much better job than all of that at advancing the story. And it's talking about things that are relevant and would have probably advanced in the Watchmen world if it, were to continue. Like the things about, white supremacy, those things are in our world, but like I imagine that it would be in the Watchmen world too. The fact that it retconned, or maybe it didn't retcon, because I always kind of had a thought or feeling like he keeps on that mask all the time. Why would he do that? Probably because he has an identity that people wouldn't like. So I always kind of like, I wonder if he was black, what would it be like?
Especially with the noose around his neck. That's kind of crazy.
I would have never guessed, but I would have never guessed, but it makes so much sense. When you it's revealed and you get his backstory, it makes so much sense.
And it's so dope the way they put all that together, and they're continually, and it's just like how Watchmen was. Like it was a story that you didn't know really where it was going, and it was building up, and there's all these things that are revealed later. There's all this backstory. There's all this like, these documents that you pull together that kind of make some sense. And then in the end, our minds are gonna be blown. Like my mind's blown right now, but like I'm sure at the end of it, we're gonna be like, what the fuck? So I love every little bit of it, every bit of Peteypedia. Like I'm reading and loving all of it.
I just caught up myself.
It's genius.
See, I was a fiend and just read the spoiler. I didn't know everything that happened in the latest episode because I've been busy. But just the impact that it had on Twitter of them saying, hey, Regina King's wife has been Dr. Manhattan this entire time. And like the inclinations of like his name being Cal, and also like the tying into everything. The idea that Laurie kind of hinted at it by saying, hey, your husband's kind of hot. I'm like, that's like it all ties together, and like when you're connecting all the dots, it blows your mind how crazy this show is. And like I know that like Black Nerd Media has kind of made it to like everybody is hopping on the bandwagon for this show. Please go read the original graphic novel of Watchmen. Don't just jump into the show blind and not understanding anything. Like, know what's going on, because it's gonna be like you're gonna feel like you're not absorbing everything that's going on if you don't know the source material. Hell, just go watch the Zack Snyder movie and just like sub in the explosion for a squid, literally.
But I think that's another one of the strengths of the show is that you can go in without reading the book or seeing the movie and still kind of understand what's going on. You're not going to be completely lost.
Only kind of though. Like it's kind of
It's
hard.
toppings like that. Like it's so good. I don't want to say that it's automatically better than the original Watchmen because I love Watchmen. Watchmen is actually one of my very favorite graphic novels ever. But I just think that it does such a good job of telling the story that it's just so much better because I know Watchmen. But if I didn't know Watchmen, and I know people that are watching it right now who didn't watch that don't have the conception from the graphic novel, and they're still enjoying it because it's that damn good. Like,
Damn.
I don't know how else to say it, but like this thing is something.
And before we dive more into what happened last week, I like to go back to the week before that, and just the thing that really stood out to me from the Hooded Justice episode is that you could be black and gay and be exploring your sexuality with someone, and they still only look at you, treat you like you're a piece of meat. That shit blew my
men too.
Yes,
that shit blew my fucking mind.
Like, and this is like it all kind of ties into like because I was messing around on TikTok earlier today, and there was this funny like video they had of it said the first gay slave owner, and like there was this black dude who was shirtless on a green screen in a cotton field, and you just hear, "Oh boy, you looking thick!" Like it all paralleled perfectly to what happened in that episode where Captain Metropolis is so enraptured by what by this man, but in reality, he's just using him. He doesn't care about his theories about the KKK. He doesn't care about any of it. He cares about what he can do to boost the Minutemen's popularity, and he cares about getting it in. That's it.
Right.
And it's so depressing to see that, especially as someone who is bisexual. You see that going on, and it's like, damn, you're being used. And even when he's like, you need to hide your real self. Like, are you ashamed of me being black? Hell yeah, he was. Because especially back then, and also that perfectly referenced the one Wildstorm comic book, American Way, where they hid the black superhero identity in the 50s. That way people didn't freak out. It all mirrors perfectly because, and then on top of that, when you add the homosexual influence and on top of that, it adds to the same crazy racism we deal with in gay culture today, where being gay and black is crazy hard. Not only dealing with racism, but they're dealing with the struggle of your own black peers and your family, having horrible issues of masculinity against you. And it sucks. So, like, it all compounds on itself. And just that whole episode had me just floored. Like, the minute he calls dude saying, hey, I figured out what's going on. They're meeting here and here. And dude's like, dude, you're tripping. Don't I'm not calling the Minutemen to come down there.
Black people need to handle black people problems.
He said anyway,
that. Anyway, you want to come over? You trying to come through?
Yeah,
like,
legit.
Wait,
but you want to come over?
He said, black people can deal with black people business. Do you want to come through? Like, we're paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. And I was so hurt by that. I was so hurt by that.
Right. It hurt me too. It just made me think, like, man, he must have had lived a lonely life.
Legit, though. Like, you got to be a effed up bottom to be like, hey, you want to come through? I don't care about none of your problems, but you want to come through? Like, that really hurt me on a spiritual level. Like... Damn. And then, like, the idea that the KKK was using like subliminal messaging in videos to make black people attack one another, that had me on some shit. Like, holy crap.
That's why I was damn near jumping out my seat and clapping when he beat the dog shit out of all of them.
Oh, yes.
He
just put the mask on, rolled up, pulled out the gun, and was like, yeah. I was like, yes. Thank you. Okay, so this week, like, okay, can you run through the episode? Because I've only seen bits and pieces. Marcus,
Aaron, okay, I can go through it.
Oh no, Aaron can do it.
Marcus, you got it.
Okay, let's go for it.
So it's not solely about the reveal of Dr. Manhattan. It also just brings more backstory to Angela, and it kind of really parallels between her and her grandfather because they both really had pretty lonely, depressing, traumatic, experiences growing up. So A lot of it takes place back in Vietnam, because in the Watchmen universe, Vietnam is the 51st state. And from reading through PDpedia, it kind of gives a little more background, because a lot of black people left the traditional U.S. to go to Vietnam, because it was like the new frontier and to escape racism. So there's a lot of black people out there. So that explains why Angela's out there, why her parents are out there. But of course, not everybody in Vietnam is happy about being occupied. So we cut to Angela. We see Angela's inspiration for being what's her superhero
Sister
name?
Night.
Sister Night. It's a movie called Sister Night too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little blaxploitation movie, but her parents don't let her watch it, but she always keeps it with her. And while they're talking to her, like a suicide bomber comes and both her parents die. So she ends up being in an orphanage. Then you kind of see her cold and calculating approach to justice, because the police find her killer and she points them out, and they ask her, okay, you can go back inside. But she's like, I want to hear it. So she hears them execute him, because the police don't give a fuck out there. They'll just shoot you in the middle of the street. So she's coming up in the orphanage, and her grandmother, Hooded Justice's his wife, ends up finding her from trying to get in contact with her son. So apparently the opposite happened. Instead of Hooded Justice's wife and son kind of just keeping away from him, it turns out that kind of turned his son against his mom. So Angela's grandmother's been trying to get in contact with her son. He's been ignoring her, but then when she finds out that he died, she finds out that she has a granddaughter. So she comes out there to talk to her and all this stuff. And it seems like, okay, maybe this is how Angela got to Tulsa. Maybe there's, things turned out better for her. No, because her grandmother has a heart attack as she's packing her things in a taxi to, get ready to go to Tulsa. And then in between that, we have Angela waking up in Lady True's headquarters, and they're pumping the nostalgia out of her, and she's just very confused. And Lady True is being Lady True and giving these very cryptic answers. She's pretty much the new Ozymandias, or Ozymandias, however you say it.
Ozymandias.
Yeah, Ozymandias. She wants to save the world. She has a plan, but she's not gonna tell people what it is, and it probably involves people dying. Who knows? We'll find out pretty soon. She ends up she's connected to somebody that's helping her get the nostalgia out of her system through like a kind of looks like a blood transfusion type of thing. And she thinks it's her grandfather. And then when she kicks the door down, this is the weirdest part of the episode that I still don't understand. Aaron, maybe you can help me out with this. She's connected to a goddamn elephant.
Whoa.
And I don't know what the fuck.
I was like, whoa, what the? And she's confused too. She busts in, she's just looking around like, what the fuck? I don't want to be connected to an elephant, so she starts trying to rip the rip the stuff out of her arms because she's like, what the fuck is this? I think, and I know that Travis has a different idea, but I think like because elephants are known for having good memories, and the point is that like when you take someone else's nostalgia, like it confuses you and makes you kind of forget who you are. So you're trying to remember who you are. So you take an animal that has good memories, and obviously Lady True has figured some genetic way that that's probably what she made nostalgia out of, like something from or related to the elephant. Because if we look at like her, like the actual like logo for her company,
it's an elephant.
It's like it looks like a mix of the Tesla thing with an elephant. And so like I think that's probably like they have some essence or some something in the biology of an elephant that helps them to like remember who they are.
My only pushback is I thought that was more of a myth about elephants having a good memory. Is that a real thing?
It is. I think it is.
Okay.
Like I think it's maybe an exaggeration because like you can teach elephants certain things and they'll remember it. Like there's like some studies that they've tried to do, but like I don't think that there's like, oh, they have the best memories in the animal kingdom. I don't think that's it, but I would have to double check to see.
Right. And then
I think that's what that's about.
Okay. And then in the midst of this, Agent Petey, behind Petepedia, he's investigating what happened with Looking Glass, because last time we left him, the 5th Cavalry were breaking into his house looking to take him out. So he's investigating. All the 5th Cavalry members are dead. Looking Glass is nowhere to be found, but strangely enough, one of the dead cavalry members is missing his mask. So my theory is that Looking Glass infiltrated the 5th Cavalry just to kind of see what they're up to. 7th Cavalry. 7th Cavalry, my bad.
You skipping numbers, boy.
Right. 7th Cavalry, my bad. It looks like Looking Glass.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it looks like he escaped and he infiltrated the 7th Cavalry.
I believe it.
Also, Lori, she went to go visit the sheriff, is it sheriff chief of whatever, the dude who got hung, Don Johnson. They went to visit Don Johnson's wife, and she's kind of putting pieces together in front of her, like, hey, I think your husband was a racist and he's involved with the 7th Cavalry. I'm not sure if you knew anything or not. And then this was my only gripe with the whole episode. So far, Lori's been characterized as this badass, 2 steps ahead of everyone, FBI agent. But she lets this old white lady get the drop on her so quick that it just pissed me off. Aaron, did that piss you off too?
Kind of, sort of. Like, I think, like, it was, like, I was sharing in the shock that, like, so she's sitting in this chair and, like, it's kind of like this, it's kind of like it reminds me of the Ozymandias reveal of, like, oh, you think I'm going to not, I'm going to tell you my whole story, and that's because I already did everything already. That's what Ozymandias did in the comic, but like, she's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. Like, that's, we were like the president of small potatoes, and then they pull out this old school, like, trapdoor thing, and she tries to press it and it doesn't work at first, and I think Lori is just kind of shocked, like, what? Like, you're what? I would have thought, like, she would have, like, lunged at her and really, like,
right, got her ass up and, like, roundhouse kicked her in the face or some shit.
Right, but
beat her ass with Excalibur or some shit.
She literally gets the drop on her, and she drops her ass out of the chair into the trap door.
Right, and then she comes to, and then the racist. Well, he's not really racist. He's worse than a racist. He's ambivalent. Yeah, he's okay with racism because it affects his bottom line. Senator Keene, he kind of tells her his old master plan because he feels like there's nothing she can do about it, and how he says, "Oh, I'm not racist, but I just feel like it's hard to be a white person nowadays, and we just want to bring that back, and we just want to bring that balance back." And so their grand scheme is not a terrorist attack. It's not hypnotizing black people into making them kill each other. His grand plan is to make every white person into a Dr. Manhattan type figure. So they're going to recreate Dr. Manhattan's accident, but just on a larger scale. That's what they're planning. That's the machine they're building and the test they're doing. That's what they're trying to do.
All bad.
And then we cut to Lady True, and Lady True has some idea. I don't know if she knows exactly what they're trying to do, but she just knows her plan is to stop them. And I think she knows that Angela's with Dr. Manhattan, but Angela's playing dumb. Until she gets home, and until she starts talking to Cal, and she's like, it's time for you to wake up. And Cal's like, what? And then she smacks the shit out of him with a hammer and pulls out this metal thing that looks strangely like
Manhattan symbol.
Right. And then everything starts glowing blue, and she's like, babe, we got a problem. And as she's saying that, the 5th Cavalry pulls up to her door. Because they say, Keene says, in order for them to recreate the accident, they have to kill Dr. Manhattan.
Oh, shit.
Right. But my thing is, how the fuck did they know that he was Dr. Manhattan?
We will have to figure that out on the next episode of Watchmen Watch.
Right.
All right.
Blurred Grounds is committed to help amplify Black voices, so we're offering advertising space on this podcast for Black creators to help get their projects the attention they deserve. If you would like to advertise on the Blurred Grounds podcast, email us at bgpodcast@on-comics-ground.com for more information. Thank you, and let's get back to the show.
we are going to go ahead and dive into our main topic of the evening. Jasmine, you have a lovely discussion planned for us this evening. Am I correct?
Discussion. Really, it's more like an essay, and it's very one-sided. But yeah, totally.
All right, holla at us.
All right, so basically, we are about to dive into our season finale, which is the Blurred Crusade. It's a mini D&D campaign that I more or less designed, and by more or less, I mean I bullshit all of it. But I'm glad you guys are having fun. And I figured as a primer before we release those episodes, we could do a brief history on Dungeons and Dragons and the place that Black people have in Dungeons and Dragons, which is to say, we don't.
Nothing.
At least according to the creators. I don't want to drag anybody or anything, but anyway, first though, I figured I'd give like a little crash course, super fast. I don't know how super fast this is going to be. I wrote a lot. Let's see here. So basically, in the early 1970s, the first D&D book, which wasn't called Dungeons and Dragons back then, but it was called something else. It was basically emergence of storytelling, RPG, gameplay, and wargaming, but on a more like single player basis. It was created by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, I believe is how you say his name. Let's see, there are currently 5 editions, for 5th edition being the one I'm the most familiar with, as well as I think the most popular one with 3.5 immediately behind that. Let's see, when it first came out in the 1970s, I think 1974 was the year it came out. It was really, really popular. Especially in the 80s, when it kind of solidified into its own tabletop format. And I do know that it was seen as very nerdy and kind of closeted because it's tabletop gaming and it was kind of a new thing at the time. Naturally, those kids grew up out of playing games, and then as a result, it kind of faded to the background, except for a few people who revived it, notably Matthew Mercer, the creator of Critical Role, and the McElroys, the creator of the Adventure Zone, who were, I should say, they weren't the first, but they were the spearheads of the podcast revolution after podcasting became a huge underground indie scene, I should say. And accessibility was spread through podcasting specifically. So, did I mention that the McElroys created the Adventure Zone? I don't know if I did or not.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The Adventure Zone and Critical Role were the 2 biggest ones. Obviously, there are others. D&D Beyond has several campaigns that they stream, as well as Geek and Sundry. There are other versions of tabletop games such as Pathfinder, and I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Hey, sure. Yeah.
Call of Cthulhu.
Is that a tabletop game? I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Yes, basically, tabletop games became super, super popular again after gameplay podcasts came out. The accessibility for podcasts became more accessible.
And the new Power Rangers one.
Hyperforce?
Yeah, they made it into a bigger game.
Did they really? I need
Yeah.
to check that out. Oh, God. I loved Hyperforce. Really, gonna get super nerdy, but that's actually what got me into tabletop games.
Hey.
I knew Hyperforce before I knew D&D.
Hyperforce!
I love it! But yeah, not to get too sidetracked, it basically became super popular because podcasts became super popular, and with podcasts came the people who were reviving Dungeons and Dragons. It was still really popular though. Like in the 70s and 80s and 90s, there were several movies and TV shows and books and so on and so forth.
We don't talk
Still
about the
very
one movie
popular
because
game.
Marcus will get upset.
Right.
will
Why they
not
have to
talk
kill
about the one
Marlon
movie.
Wayans, man?
I
Between
can't
that and
answer
Wayans
you
Brothers
that.
not Right. Between that and the Waynesville's not getting a final episode, I'm pretty upset. But we'll always have Scary Movie 1 and 2. Continue.
Apologies.
True.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Not your fault.
I can't answer you. Well, it's a sympathetic sorry.
I
yes.
appreciate it.
So, podcasts became very popular with the internet becoming more popular. And with podcasts becoming more popular, D&D became more accessible. And because D&D became more accessible, it was introduced to an entirely new generation, hence the renaissance that has happened in the past few years.
Hey.
So the creation of Dungeons and Dragons itself was largely influenced by Western European mythology and fantasy. A lot of that was spearheaded by J.R.R. Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings books and the Hobbit books and the Silmarillion and everything else.
Get ready for season 2 because Jasmine's gonna rant for days.
Oh my god, I am dipping my toe in on this one because I didn't want to get into Tolkien yet. But basically, a lot of things were borrowed. Although Gygax says that Tolkien didn't influence, or at least there wasn't a lot of influence, that it seems to be contradicted, especially after, I believe, Tolkien Enterprises warned them to change things or they would be hit with a lawsuit. And so that is why halflings are not hobbits and Ents are not treants, and so on and so forth. So names had to be changed, and that's I don't want to speak ill because I love this game and I really do, but it does seem that a lot of things were taken from the Tolkien universe, most notably elves and their attachment to nature, their immortal or near immortal lives, and so on and so forth. But I don't know. I can't claim to be an expert on that. I just noticed similarities. He did name other influences, like he's named Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft. That's not the greatest comparisons, but essentially that's where a lot of the influence of Dungeons and Dragons came from. And what I really wanted to talk about were the Black people in Dungeons and Dragons, or should I say lack thereof. One of the first things I noticed when I first cracked open the player's handbook was that the only people who could be truly Black, unless your DM was, your dungeon master, I should say, was lenient on that sort of thing. The only race you could play who could be Black is human.
Yep.
And that's very disappointing. I mean, it's better than Lord of the Rings Online, where you can't even be human and dark enough to represent me, a light-skinned Blasian woman. So, I mean, it's a step in the right direction, I suppose, but not that much better. I was very upset about that until I discovered that there is a race of elves that could possibly be portrayed or representations of African American culture, and by that I mean,
you see that, Aaron? You're represented.
Horrific stereotype.
Oh
no.
What them elves are eating watermelon and drinking grape soda?
You are.
Oh my God.
No, you are. No, I'm talking about drow. Thank you.
Ooh.
No, if you look in the player's handbook, elf skin colors range from tawny brown to alabaster pale, except for the drow, who are described as midnight, charcoal, and blue, I think. And yeah, so if you want a darker character physically, you can go drow. The problem with that is a lot of the drow are evil. They're canonically in the books, they are chaotic evil, and they worship a spider goddess who wants to take over the world, and they live in the Underdark. They're not even on the same plane as everybody else. So basically, if you really had your heart set on that, and if you're going by player's handbook, I should amend that. While you can be any character you want in D&D, according to your DM's rules, obviously. Canonically,
our DM said we can be Black if we want to.
Exactly. and I was actually blessed to have a DM who not only allowed me to be as dark as I wanted to be without connotations, but she also includes all kinds of races, not fantasy races, but like actual human races influenced in her NPCs, which is really, really cool and very inclusive. And like I said, I'm lucky enough to have such a diverse world to play in, which is why I knew of this, but I didn't really understand the impact of it until we, in certain places, especially in like Critical Role, for instance, a lot of the times darker races are portrayed as antagonists, regardless of what they're doing. I can't talk. My character is lawful evil, but I did that to make a point. We're not going to talk about my character. We're talking about the player's handbook and how I did sort through all of them, and most of the characters, most of the races, the fantasy races, the darkest that you get is tan, essentially, unless you want to go other colors like blue or green. So, yeah, I mean, it's not so much weird as it is blatantly disappointing. It's really, really frustrating. I did a lot of research into like the presence of Black people in Dungeons and Dragons canon, and what I found was fairly disappointing. There's not a lot, period. I did find a couple of adventures where there are, I guess, lands that you could travel to that have a mimicry of African tribes, but it's all very, very stereotypical and borderline offensive, and like, I don't know, maybe just lazy and incredibly disappointing. They're all mock-ups, and that's very frustrating. Although, I mean, there's dinosaurs, so that's a cool thing.
Mhm.
So
You had me at dinosaurs.
Right.
dinosaurs are freaking rad.
They are. I love them.
But yeah, I mostly, this is spoilers, but I don't care. I play a drow. She is lawful evil, but not because she's influenced by drow culture. And I think that it's incredibly disappointing to find that the race you can get closest to yourself if you don't have a lenient DM. Sorry. The closest race that you could get to portray yourself is one that is notably evil, and one that is like oftentimes when you run into these characters in the story, they are antagonistic or antagonists themselves or villains or whatever, what have you, because that's how they are in canon. So with Dungeons and Dragons, you don't have to go by canon. That's the beauty of it. But for a lot of the stories told, it is largely influenced by what is put in the books. And I haven't found a lot of positive spins on Black culture, and that is incredibly disappointing.
Damn. And see, like, for me, when I first opened the player's handbook for the first time, you see the one fighter class is a dude with like he's Black, he has dreadlocks, that's a human. But then you're scrolling through the rest of it, you don't see anybody of any different race that is Black, and it kind of gets frustrating. So I kind of see what you're saying.
Extremely frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. It's like the other thing is my character Mona is Black, and she's very notably Black. She gets that from her human side. I didn't want to fall into the trap of saying that drow are Black people, and because they're drow, they're evil. I didn't want to fall into that trap at all. So I figured I'd take all of those stereotypes and flip them on its head and make a character that is influenced by the life she had growing up. But that doesn't mean that she's evil because that's what the player's handbook says she has to be. So that's not fair.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But yeah, that's a that's a little taste of it. If you wanted to read those adventures with the African tribe-inspired people, I believe there are 2 of them. One is Tomb of Horrors. That one's Gary Gygax. I think that's the more offensive one of the 2. And the other one is Tomb of Annihilation. And I believe that's by Chris Perkins. He's currently one of the writers, creators of the new Dungeons and Dragons editions.
Isn't that the one that they introduced the turtles at?
I don't know.
That's where we get the turtles from.
Yeah.
All right. So there was a point of discussion you wanted to bring up. What is that?
Mostly I wanted to ask how often in fantasy, I know you guys don't know Dungeons and Dragons as well as I do, which is to say not very well. But I wanted to ask in fantasy, are there any characters of note that have been Black and not evil in fantasy? And we'll dive into this more when we reach Tolkien, because I love Tolkien to death, but the fact that there are no Black people in all of Tolkien canon is very disappointing. Bitterly disappointing.
Yeah. Like, just for a cursory glance of Black fantasy characters, literally the first 5 options are Marvel characters and Barrett from Final Fantasy.
Does Lando count as fantasy? Does Star Wars count as fantasy?
Yes, it does. It technically
Yes,
does. Because it's considered a science fiction fantasy. So yes, it does count.
Sci-fi fan.
Like, literally, it's really bad. Like, there is nothing.
Like, there are only a few Black characters in Thrones, but they're really not.
Now, like, there's recent things like different books and stuff like that, like the Book of Blood and Bone, I think it's called, and like there's a new Black Mage
Children of
book.
Blood and Bone.
Yeah, that book. Like, there's that kind of series where they're interested in Black fantasy characters, and
yeah, absolutely. Especially in books. Books especially have had a massive boom of fantasy that has been influenced by cultures other than Western European. So African and Filipino and East Asian and Brazilian and Mayan and so on and so forth. There's actually an imprint called Reed Riordan, where Rick Riordan, the author of the Percy Jackson books, has basically offered a spot to promote books that are like his, which is urban fantasy with emphasis on mythology, but for cultures outside of Western European mythology, by authors who are from those cultures. It's really, really cool that he did that, because it has caused a massive boom in expansion in fantasy, at least in young adult fiction.
And the Black one's called Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky, and I have my copy right here, and it's so good.
It's so good. I'm very excited to read it. I haven't cracked it open yet, but it's very cool.
I'm only a couple chapters in, and it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had to promote that for a second. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I got excited because I love how good this book is. There's that.
Yeah.
Never apologize for your excitement over nerdy things.
Exactly.
So
I figured that would be a short discussion, to be honest with you.
It's sad because like literally I typed in Black fantasy characters into Google, and it literally was all Marvel characters, a couple Final Fantasy characters, and then the Black woman that played Hermione on Broadway. Like, that's it. Like, that's how bad shit is.
Yeah.
Like, that's the struggle right there. So hopefully there could be some change going on. Like, I know that in different artworks and stuff that there's been more African American or just people of color representation in D&D artwork, but it mostly is just humans. So maybe we can spark a change that can go forward and stuff like that. That's one thing that we can make happen. I'd love to make that kind of situation happen. So, Wizards of the Coast, holla at us. We would love to sit down with you. right.
I'll write an adventure.
Legit though. So is there anything else y'all want to holler at before we wrap up this episode?
Nope.
Oh, but that was a pretty distinctive breakdown. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Jasmine,
Thanks.
you are
I skipped
amazing.
a lot of stuff. This is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
You are amazing. It's okay.
Thanks.
All right. Don't forget that you can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere that you listen to a podcast that isn't Spotify, Jesus, and isn't SoundCloud. You can catch us on that podcasting service. If you are on Apple Podcasts, make sure that you are reviewing us. That way people can find us a little bit easier. That helps out a lot. Thank you so much. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Blurred Grounds. You can follow the website On Commons Ground at Twitter and Instagram at On Commons Ground. You can look up the website oncommonsground.com. Put some hyphens between those words for me, please. That way you can check out all of our reviews, our previews, solicitations, news articles, whatever we talk about, you can see it there. So please make sure you check that out every weekday for you folks. Now, Marcus, what is your closing statement for this episode of Blurred Ground?
Just keep watching Watchmen, man. If you're not watching it, you are missing out. What are you waiting for? Get on it. And Titans, I hate it.
Oh my God. Aaron, what is your closing statement for this penultimate episode of Blurred Ground?
Who watches The Watchmen? Everybody. Everybody needs to watch it. But yes, I'm very, very happy with our opportunities to chat about this show because we're all deep in it, knee deep in it. Not as much as Travis, but we're deep in it.
All right, then Jasmine, what is your closing statement for this episode of Blurred Ground?
Play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
It's fun.
Yes, it is amazing. And then my closing statement is going to be, please God, read Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. It is so good. And also, Watchmen is amazing. Also, D&D is amazing. I'm just not getting into it after feeling the barrier that was all the math and all the hard things about it for so long. And finally, I'm getting an opportunity to finally get into this thing that I've wanted to get into for so long. I finally broke the barrier of Magic the Gathering last year after being a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player and leaving competitive Yu-Gi-Oh to come to Magic, and I love it so much. And I'm glad that I can finally sit down and try D&D, and I've loved it, everything that I've seen about it. So please get into this. Love it. I'm not giving up on you, Titans. I'm here for you. And that's all I got. We will catch you folks next time, next season in January. We will be back January 3rd. So get ready for season 2 of Blurred Ground. Peace out. Let me tell Craig to leave.
Yeah, go away, Craig.
He'll be back in like 10, 15 minutes.
Fuck out of here,
say
Craig.
the thing that I always say.